Hello, writers and readers. I'm freelance fiction editor Miranda Darrow with my weekly video about writing, editing, and the writing life. This month, we're shining a spotlight on novels set on modes of transportation. Last week, I posted a video with writing tips, common tropes, and consideration when writing a novel set aboard various modes of transportation like planes, trains, automobiles, and ships. This week, my list of book recommendations for recent titles that all feature a train as a primary or featured setting. So, all aboard for my favorite train set books, from locked car mysteries to dystopian death matches. I have a type. It's trains. My grandfather worked most of his life for the Sioux Line, and my mom instilled in me a love of trains. Give me a narrow corridor, give me ticking timetables, give me strangers seated far too close together, making increasingly bad decisions between stations. For fiction writers, train stories are a masterclass in confinement and escalation, and character pressure. For readers, they can be catnip. Here's my curated list of train heavy books that I recommend, plus one upcoming release that I've already pre ordered. Let's start with the classic locked car tension in The Murder on Orient Express by Agatha Christie. This is not a recent title, but if you're writing closed circle mystery, it's almost required reading. Christie weaponizes class divisions, physical confinement, spatial logic, and the delicious unfairness of justice. Writers should study how she distributes suspicion compartment by compartment. For more recent titles, one of my favorites is Everyone on this Train is a Suspect by Benjamin Stevenson. This one's meta. It's a modern and sharp. The train is full of crime writers. Delicious. What you should study as a writer when reading Everyone on this Train is a Suspect. Study how Stevenson uses the train as a literal suspect list, how each stop escalates tension, how humor coexists with murder stakes, and it's a reminder that setting can reinforce tone, not just tension. Another recent title is The Main Character by Jaclyn Goldis. It's a luxury train with multiple POVs and high drama. This is a fascinating example of using social hierarchy, glamour, and the illusion of safety to heighten the impact when things go wrong. Want a masterclass in psychological pressure and unreliable narration? There's a recent classic, The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. Yes, it's slightly older than the others on this list, but it's good because this book uses the commuting repetition, observational distance, alcohol fogged memory to create a thriller that hinges on what is seen versus what is real. Writers, notice how the brain functions as both vantage point and barrier for the main character on a girl on a train. And it introduced me and a ton of other Americans to cocktails in a can as a commuting beverage choice. Who knew? When this book first came out over a decade ago, it was before there were really cocktails in a can craze all over the Midwest. But it's been a welcome addition to our summer pond true trips. Daily commuting to work? Not so much. All right, another one, 1222 by Anne Holt. Snowbound Train, A Remote Hotel, Limited Suspects. This novel was translated from Norwegian by Marlene Delargy, and the frosty Scandinavian tone still shines through as this train is derailed during a snowstorm in the mountains. The passengers take shelter in a nearly empty chalet, and then the murders start. And our main character, a former police inspector who uses a wheelchair, and people didn't even initially want to retrieve her wheelchair from the wreck. Talk about isolation and powerlessness. It's a reminder that sometimes the train is only the first containment device. What matters most is how the author compounds the isolation. For some historical and social commentary, check out The Paris Express by Emma Donoghue. Donoghue does what she does best, meticulous character work under pressure. The train becomes a cross-section of society, a literal class system, a moving countdown. If you're writing historical fiction, study how the social dynamics are embedded in the architecture of the train itself. Here's a slightly older title, but one of my favorites, Water for Elephants by Sara Gruen. It's a circus train with found family and a love story in motion. This is a gorgeous example of mobility as instability, work hierarchies on the rails, and romance blooming under constrained conditions. Train settings are especially powerful for chosen family arcs. For a modern thriller with high stakes, try With a Vengeance by Riley Sager. Sager knows how to build atmosphere. Watch how the luxury setting heightens the danger. Each compartment feels like a ticking bomb. A forward motion mirrors escalating stakes. Or check out 640 to Montreal by Eva Jurczyk, a delayed commuter train, a missing passenger. This is a brilliant example of how mundane daily commutes can become sinister through small deviations. Writers, tension doesn't require glamour, it requires disruption. And one I'm reading now, Five Found Dead by Solari Gentile. This is a thriller with confined suspect and layered motives. Again, notice how limited space intensifies the pressure. Hear me out on these. Here are some genre benders with unexpected train energy. So, how about The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins? Yes, the train's a small part, but it's a crucial element, with the train being the way of transporting Katniss and Peeta from District 12 to the capital, where everything changes for them. The tribute train rise is a masterclass in emotional transition, power display, class contrast, psychological dread. The train marks the shift from personal survival to public spectacle, and the structure is structurally brilliant. And just for fun, I also included the picture book Shark versus Train by Chris Barton. This was one of my favorites to read with some of my kids. If you write children's fiction, this book demonstrates how to use trains as dynamic visual energy to create rhythmic escalation and lean into playful competition. And let's end with the novel that I haven't read, but I've already pre ordered The Midnight Train by Matt Haig. It releases later this month, and yes, I've already secured my copy. Haig excels at liminal spaces, emotional introspection, the intersection of magic and melancholy. A Midnight Train? That's metaphor candy. If it's anything like his prior work, especially The Midnight Library, expect transformation, identity reckoning, and existential themes wrapped in accessible storytelling. I will absolutely report back. Why do train stories keep working? For writers, trains are cheat codes. They naturally amplify confinement, suspicion, clash tension, emotional vulnerability, momentum. You get a built in ticking clock, you get forced proximity, you get physical representation of journey as transformation. And as someone who spends her days dissecting structure and helping authors sharpen their craft, train stories are catnip because the setting forces discipline. You can't wander narratively on a train. The tracks demand forward motion, which frankly is what we want from your story too. If you're writing a train set novel or thinking about it, let me know, and I'll happily nerd out about compartment logic, timetable pacing, how to escalate tension between stations. All aboard! Be sure to like and subscribe. This is freelance fiction editor Miranda Darrow wishing you happy writing.